Fuji Superia 400. When I first thought about doing a video about Fuji Superia, I was going to go over like a technical thing and make it to this whole review about Fuji Superia, the film stock. And as I got closer to putting this video together, through my procrastination, I'm going to turn this down a little bit, I decided not to do that. And the reason why I decided not to do that is because there's so many videos already out on Fuji Superia and how it performs and what it looks like, technical aspects of the film stock. Yeah, there's hundreds of videos out there already on YouTube about Fuji Superia. So instead of doing that, I decided what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about what Fuji has done for me in my film photography and kind of like some of the nostalgic memories that it's brought back up in my life. So I'm Julius. I was born in the 90s, early 90s, 1990. So I was born in the early 90s, and for as long as I can remember, there's always been film photos in my family's history. My grandfather, I want to say he had some kind of SLR camera, because I remember growing up just looking through boxes and boxes of printed out photos. These were probably like just developed at your 1 hour labs, nothing super like serious. And as I started shooting photography again, I ultimately got back into shooting film. Film has become very popular. It's always been something that I've been aware of, but when I first started shooting photography, I was shooting digital only, and then switching over to film has been such a rewarding journey for me. And the first film stock that I chose to shoot with was Fuji Superia. One, because it's just readily accessible, it's inexpensive, and it's just it's a good all-around film stock for just experimenting and learning the basics if you're coming into film photography the first time, or if you're getting back into film photography. And the two cameras that I'm using for my film photography happen to be the Nikon FA, which is really a great, I'd say, semi-professional film body at the time, where it came out in the early 80s. And I have a fully mechanical analog SLR body, which is the Canon FTB QL. So these are the two film bodies that I'm using to shoot my film photography, and they're doing great. I love these cameras. I'm going to do a review, whatever you want to call it, on both of these cameras separately, just to give my thoughts and opinions on them. I know the Nikon FA is not talked about as much. I haven't seen a lot of information on the Nikon FA, even though it is probably technically one of the best, like as far as like what you get in a SLR camera for this time period. It was like technically one of the most advanced cameras at the time. And then the Canon FTB, which is a fully mechanical camera that kind of gets overlooked for the Canon AE1 program, and the AE1, just like the original AE1, but it's a solid body. It's a really good camera. It's chunky, it's all metal construction, it's durable, it's an amazing camera, and it shoots the FD mount lenses. Anyways, this is not about that. So Fuji Superia, when I first started shooting it, it just kind of, I don't know, it took me back to a time where I kind of like forgotten about, right? This is like my childhood. I was born in the early 90s, grew up in the mid 90s and early 2000s, just reminiscing on pictures from my parents' childhood, growing up in the 70s and 80s, and my grandparents growing up in the 50s and 60s. So seeing Fuji and shooting with Fuji, it just kind of like reminded me of my childhood, and like the tones that you get from it, the way that the photos kind of render out once you see them printed for the first time. It's very nostalgic. So That's what Fuji has done for me. There's plenty of other film stocks out there that probably do the same thing. I know my mom, for example, she always had a disposable either Fuji or Kodak camera when we were growing up in the early 90s. So that's why I think these, the Fuji Superia line and the Kodak Gold / Kodak Ultramax line really kind of like hit me in like the nostalgic feels, because these were the common film stocks back in the day. I think Fuji Superia came out, did a little bit of research. Fuji Superia came out in like the early or the late 80s. Oh, no. I take that back. Fuji Superia, according to the Wikipedia, and I'm using Wikipedia, I don't come from my head. Apparently it first released in Japan in 1998 as Fuji Premium, and the Superia was the Western American product release. So you had Fuji Superia for American and Western release, and then you had Fuji Premium for the release in Japan. Same with Kodak. I think Kodak Gold or Kodak Ultramax came out around the same time. But the Fuji Superia that we have today was a revised version that came out in 2006. So still a very early time period. I think my mom was definitely still shooting disposable cameras at that time. I think we may have had a digital camera, but they were expensive. Even the cheaper, like the thing you got to think about, like back in the day, like a 4 megapixel, 6 megapixel camera, that was a lot. So like even those little point and shoots were expensive. So my mom was definitely still shooting with disposable cameras at that time. So yeah, here's some of the photos that I've gotten using my Fuji, or using the Fuji film stock. Check them out and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.